Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. It's your girl Kyla Coleman, aka Natural Legalista. Welcome to my zone where we break down stories from the headlines with a twist, which is usually just humor and gossip. So today may be a little serious of a topic. I'm not sure because the guest that we have on usually always makes me laugh, even if something is super serious. So we just gonna let him gauge how we do this. But before we jump into it, my self-care tip of the week, as you guys know, I always give, it is to invest in good pillows. With my old age now, my old age of 33, I have learned the importance of a good pillow. I used to hate them. I used to throw
I have
pillows.
17 pillows on my bed.
But do they come in handy now?
Oh, yes. I got one for my legs. I got one for my neck, my head, and it's one when I turn to my side.
Yes, exactly. Because I didn't know you could sleep incorrectly until I hit my 30s. And I'm like, dang, you wake up, you got a little ache. But if you would have had a pillow up under your knee, it would have just been okay. Also, I sleep with a neck pillow now. So, you too? All right, now I don't feel so weird. I am weird, but I don't feel so weird now. So invest in some good pillows. If you guys don't know, you can buy some on Amazon. That's where I get some of my pillows from. Or you can just go to the Walmart. They have some good stuff too. So that is my self-care tip of the week. And now I want to introduce my big head guest. My big head guest this week is James Coleman. Look at his head, y'all. He's also my brother. Did he not know he was getting ready to come on camera? And he put the cell phone down like we weren't going to be able to see it. And now he's trying to pretend like he cannot hear us talking about him. You hear us.
I don't know if I'm on mute or not.
No, you're unmuted. We can hear you and see you in your shoe collection.
Really, yeah, that's just part of it. That's just the Adidas, the Yeezys and Pharrell section. But one fresh pillow, company based out of Tallahassee makes good pillows. Also invest in a bed. Pay the $5,000 for a good bed. You're gonna have it for 8 years.
Did he come on here and add to my self-care tip?
That's perfect. James, can you move a little bit to your right? Just a little bit.
Because your head.
My right?
I'm going to put you like that, so I need to get you in frame there.
Oh, okay.
And why is he trying to wear a sweatshirt like me? This is what I be talking about. This is why my guest
that
is.
Takes me out of frame.
You're good. You're good. So yeah, this is my Stink brother. I call him Stink. His name is James Coleman. I'm gonna try my hardest not to call him Stink throughout this podcast, but it's just second nature. So if I call him that, no, I'm referring to him in that way in love. All right, but most people know him as Big Game James, former FSU star, fullback, now sports commentator, radio host, podcast host, coach. He has a whole bunch of titles. And I'm pretty sure there's some that I didn't name. Did I leave anything out?
I mean, I do a lot of things the same exact way, so it's really it's overrated. Titles are overrated. I just try to make money.
That's real. That's real. Well, I mean, is there anything you want to add to your introduction?
Karma's firstborn.
Okay, see, this is all right. I'm about to cuss because you didn't have to do that. You did not have to do that, but that's okay because the second is the best. That's all right. But I like to check in with my guests and just see how they're feeling, how they doing. How you doing?
On Apple and Google, is this a family oriented or like what is the?
It's whatever your personality is. They know you cuss.
Minus the bullshit. My life is great.
That's the same thing for everybody. That's real. That's real. All right. So you ready to go ahead and jump into this topic with me?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
All right. So how we do it is we start out with a couple of clips. So we're going to look at those clips really quick. Feel free to jump in and comment if you want to. But yeah, just free form. Have fun. Let's jump in with the first one.
Hold on.
So easy to use.
All right, so just some background information. We're going to be talking about Kyle Rittenhouse and the Ahmaud Arbery case.
Okay.
I think the clip is ready now.
But God is good.
A symbol of strength and perseverance. Ahmaud Arbery's mother thanking those who prayed, marched, and fought for justice for her son. The three white men on trial for murdering him, convicted by a jury today. President Biden releasing a statement less than an hour after the guilty verdict saying Ahmaud should be here celebrating the holidays with his family. He says nothing can bring him back. But the verdict ensures that those who committed this horrible crime will be punished. This racially charged case watched closely all over the country and the world. Ahmaud's death coming roughly 3 weeks before Breonna Taylor was shot in her Louisville apartment and 3 months before George Floyd was murdered on a Minneapolis street at the knee of a police officer.
Their deaths put the Black Lives Matter movement in the global.
So that was a clip from that one. Ahmaud Arbery. We know that the people who murdered Ahmaud actually were convicted and found guilty. And we'll jump to this next clip about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes, Kai.
Were filled with protesters, some here to support Kyle Rittenhouse, many more, though, wanting to see him spend the rest of his life in jail. Take a look now outside the courthouse. It is, for the most part, empty. Certainly more media here than protesters at this point. Still, the fallout from this verdict continues, including from the families of those shot. They're not happy with the verdict at all. In a statement, the parents of Anthony Huber wrote, "We are heartbroken and angry that Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted in his criminal trial for the murder of our son Anthony Huber. There was no justice today." The defense attorney for Rittenhouse telling reporters today that they decided to put Rittenhouse on the stand and that it really wasn't a question as they were moving forward.
This is the part that got me.
We had a mock jury, and we did 2 different juries, one with him testifying, one without him testifying. It was substantially better when he testified, I mean, to a marked degree, and that sealed it. But
the spokesperson for the Rittenhouse family tells Fox News that he's happy Kyle can move on with his life and that Kyle told him.
Yeah. So 2 cases in which people clearly shot and killed other individuals, and 2 clear differences in the definition of justice. So, James, did you get a chance to follow up with these cases or watch them at all, or did you just kind of get pieces from the news?
The Ahmaud Arbery case, not as much. I got bits and pieces in the news. And the Rittenhouse one was interesting. One of the things that I wanted to be for most of my life, and one of the things that does intrigue me was just the amount of school that it took to go through that. I couldn't do what you did. I wanted to be an attorney and a trial attorney, and ever since I saw when we were young, you probably don't remember, when we first went to our father's house in Ohio, was when the O.J. Simpson case was really, really starting to go. And I remember watching court TV when it was on, and how it became popular, and seeing guys, seeing the showmanship, seeing that one of my favorite shows is Suits, and understanding that if I can get something through trial, it really doesn't matter what the facts are as much as it does how I present the facts. And that's really life. There's another show, I can't think, Bull is the name of it, where the guy actually helps pick juries. And, very few people are as smart as what they think they are. We're all influenced. And I've learned this through being in media. And I learned this when I actually took some information and I took an angle that nobody else took, that I hadn't heard. And I presented information, and I presented it on my radio show. And wouldn't you find that other people literally regurgitated what I worked hard for to be able, and as if it was their own statement. And that's when I learned how important it is, the platform that I have, and why I speak the way I speak. And I hate to say it, for lack of a better term, people are stupid.
Yeah.
No matter, we think we're intelligent, we think we're well informed, but we only get one side of it, and we never look at both sides. And the other side of having played ball, having studied history, especially in military history and things, if you don't know what the other side is capable of, then you really aren't very educated on your side. Dr. Virtuno, when I was in high school, my speech and debate teacher made us have to take opposing sides that he knew we wouldn't agree with, because it strengthened your conviction on your side. Yeah. If you know what the flaws in your actual argument are, then it makes you better at what you do. And so when I looked at it, and I made a statement that Kyle Rittenhouse was going to get off, and it was based on the information that was given, and also that he had a judge that was very complimentary to the defense, which typically doesn't happen in these cases. But when they took out and then also you had a prosecution that probably was a little bit too overzealous with what they were charging and didn't set themselves up for layups. They went for the slam dunk, and you ended up, sometimes when you do that, you miss on it all. A case here in the state of Florida would be the George Zimmerman trial.
Yeah.
They went for murder one out as opposed to manslaughter and some other things that you could really get him on, and they went for the slam dunk, and then they messed around and missed on anything. Now, him getting off doesn't really bother me as much because the letter of the law has gray areas in there for this. Now, the argument and what they should have tried him based on is why in the hell is a 17-year-old going to defend a friend's property?
Yeah,
where
and
you know
I
it's
think that's what
area
they
and-
were. Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to do, but I don't think they set it up well.
and that's why it didn't. When I realized you were trying to get him on killing somebody, and it's unfortunate for victims, but this is just the way America is. Victims do get tried when it comes to depending on who the person is, and when you try the victims and you have their back, it's kind of crazy. In a random place, you were able to shoot 3 people who have such seedy backgrounds. Like that shouldn't have happened. Doesn't mean they deserve to die for that, but it's kind of like if you're a civilian and you find out that a pedophile died, like it's not as sympathetic, and that's unfortunate. But that's just me being real. That's not necessarily how I feel about it. That's just me being real. Now, what upsets me is, and what I've told people is, if this were me, James Coleman, a license to carry, all these different things, knows how to shoot, and I go to this, they're going to look at me as if I'm looking for trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get this same exact, treatment. They're not going to paint me as an angel. They're going to go find some picture of me when I was 12 years old fighting or something and not smiling, as opposed to the guy who gives Christmas gifts to kids, disadvantaged kids.
Yeah,
they're
you're a football player, so they can
right.
always
They're
find
going to talk
pictures
about
of
my
you not
aggressiveness.
smiling.
Right. They're going to talk about CTE. They're going to talk about all these different things. They're going to paint these pictures. They're going to paint my growing up in a single parent household much differently than they're going to paint Kyle Rittenhouse. That's what bothers me more. And then what bothers me exponentially is the politicalization of everything. Like, now, if you're happy that he got off, fine. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem is him visiting ex-presidents that are powerful men. I do have a problem with politicians saying that I'm going to hire you as an intern when there's more qualified people who actually want to do these things. I do have a problem with him being paraded around because it does set the stage for copycats.
Yeah.
And it emboldens a side of society that's a bunch of cowards. I'm not saying you're a coward because you have a gun. I'm all for it. Hell, one of my biggest sponsors on my radio show is a gun company. But what I am not a defender of people who don't understand the power and the privilege that comes with owning that weapon. When I took my class, I had a very phenomenal instructor, very conservative, very much so from the looks of it, a guy who would support Kyle Rittenhouse. But he's a guy who sat there and made sure that we understood when you point that gun, that weapon, you are responsible for where that bullet goes. Whether it goes through somebody, whether it hits a loved one, you are to be charged if people who weren't supposed to get shot. And with an AR-15, something that I just recently shot not too long ago, it's a very easy weapon, it's a powerful weapon, but it's actually very easy to shoot, but it's also the round can go through somebody. So what if it goes through the person that you feel was attacking you and it hits somebody who had nothing to do there? Because, and as I told to my friend, it's ironic that at a peaceful protest, the only person who killed people was the only person who was armed.
Yeah.
Nobody else was there. It had to found themselves in a position. And as I've always found, is when you consistently find yourself in positions where you got to use a gun, you probably looking for that.
Yeah. But let's break down some of the stuff that you've talked about, because when you said it was politicized, right? So just in the clips that we saw, Joe Biden responded to what happened in the Ahmaud Arbery case. He made a whole statement about it. And Kyle Rittenhouse's case, immediately after the verdict was read, Donald Trump, the previous president, made a statement on it. So it's like
Joe Biden responded to the Joe Biden responded to the Kyle Rittenhouse case as probably like I am right now,
Mm-hmm.
saying that it went through the court system and
It was what it
justice
was.
prevailed. It was what it was. It wasn't a thing, but I think our country is being split by not by the people, but by the people in charge, and everybody likes to play sides. But really, all it is politicized gang violence. And it's funny because they're red and blue, so I call them the Crips and the Bloods, just
That's real.
distinguished.
Yeah.
And the reality is, a bunch of people are going to get in situations. See, January 6th, we're coming up on the anniversary of that, where you're going to have to pay the consequences for this gang violence that the gang leaders aren't. And that's how everything works. And I think the problem is everybody loves to like castigate the hood, but don't realize that the hood is a microcosm of society and of its whole.
That's
and
real.
all it is a bunch of older people or people in power, the 1%, take advantage of the 99%. It really is not even the 99%, the 10% of the 99%, and have them be the ones that actively go do dumb things. And that's, again, it goes back to my original preface, is that most of you people, including people listening to this is not, again, not to offend you, but it's to make you aware. And me too, in some circumstances. None of us are as smart as we think we are.
That's real.
And I tend to not argue with people who are experts in their field. Like if my doctor if I trust my doctor, like my best friend Jamila Wade is a doctor. When Jamila was telling me what the hell to do, I wasn't really arguing with her too much because that's what she went to school for. She's an expert in that. I'm not. I'm a sports guy. Now, if you want to come into my world and argue sports with me, you're going to lose 90% of the time because you're just not armed with the information that I'm armed with. And I think the problem with one of the big things that 4-5 did to help him win was to immediately discredit experts and get people thinking that he was the expert and people want to emulate that. So I think that's where the big problem comes.
Yeah. So let's talk about these two cases real quick, just for people who might not have followed up with Kyle Rittenhouse and Ahmaud Arbery. I know me, from my own mental health, I kind of tried to not stay as close to these cases as I normally would, but I had to just because of the type of work I did. So Kyle Rittenhouse, he was 17 years old at the time. This was last year. He killed 2 people. He shot 3, killed 2 during an anti-racism protest up in Wisconsin. He was acquitted recently of all charges, and his defense was that he was in fear for his life. The judge did not allow defense attorneys, protesters to acknowledge the people killed as victims. And he did allow the defense attorneys to call the people who were killed rioters. And in fact, the protest that he was attending was actually in response to the killing of Jacob Blake, who was a black man who was shot by police. His charges were murder and reckless endangerment. And like I said before, he was acquitted of all charges. And rest in peace to those victims of that case, which was Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed, Anthony Huber, who had tried to take Kyle's gun, and then Gage Grosskreutz, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was armed, but he did not die. So he was one of the survivors of it. And I guess in this case it was a little different because the victims here were white, as opposed to the Ahmaud Arbery case. The murderers in this case were Travis and Gregory McMichael and William Roddy Bryant. Ahmaud was 25 years old, black male, jogging through a neighborhood, and they tracked him down and killed him. They were charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and attempt to commit a felony. In that particular case, like I said before, they have been convicted, and right now they're awaiting sentencing. My understanding is that prosecutors are trying to get them life without parole. And actually, in both of these cases, there were 11 white jurors and 1 black, or 1 person of color. Because the 1 person of color in the Wisconsin case with Kyle Rittenhouse, they weren't sure if he was black or not. They just knew he was a minority. You mentioned earlier about the judges who were like starkly different in this case. I think we have a picture of both of the judges. So one judge, like I said, this is the judge that's in Georgia for the Ahmaud Arbery case. To me, he was pretty unbiased. Even when they were making motions to not have, what was it, Jesse Jackson and other people sit in the courtroom, this judge was like, no, like, trials are open to the community. The community is able to come and watch. It's not fair for y'all to try to kick people out when they're not disturbing anything. Also, I feel like he was just straight, smooth, and down the line, hurt both sides. Whereas the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, several times in me watching this case, he literally was talking very sternly towards prosecutors in front of the jury. His phone rang several times throughout trial or throughout the motions with that "Proud to Be an American" song, which I recently learned was, I guess, the anthem for Trump's campaign. I didn't know that. Did you know that? The "Proud to Be an American"
I
song. You
didn't
know what I'm
know it was
talking
an
about?
anthem, but it's a song that um it's a good song, but it's not a song that's going to be played at HBCU cookouts.
It's really not.
It's a
And then,
song
but
that's typically played at a lot of people who aren't listen to it, but a lot of people who are typically biased love it.
yeah, when I encountered the song, it was in high school, or shortly after 9/11 when I was in middle school. I don't know if that's when the song was released or not, but it was kind of like to make us be proud of our country again and know we were going to stand up and fight with each other. Now when I hear it, I get scared.
No, the song that we listened to is the Petey Pablo.
North Carolina, come on and
yeah,
raise up.
no, but he did the USA one.
He did?
You don't remember that one?
No.
USA, come on and raise up. Take it. Yeah, he did a remix to it.
You still had to take your shirt off and spin it around your head like a helicopter?
Mm-hmm.
Take your flag.
I remember that because 9/11 was my senior year, and Petey Pablo was hot during that time. So a lot of things that come to that. Also, the "We'll Put a Boot in Your Ass" song was very good. So I can't think the country music name got, but it's it's just ironic some of the things that people have taken and misconstrued. But I think the Ahmaud Arbery case, what made that different was, for the first time, was video really showed like, this guy legit wasn't doing anything. Like, he was legit running away and you legitimately like slaughtered him. I've got a friend, Pete Yanko, who lives in the area, white male, older white male, who a lot of different cases that have come up on Facebook, he's typically taken the other side for a while until more facts come out.
Mm-hmm.
But when he saw that video, he was just like, yo, I'll go in the streets and ride for this young man. I don't care what happened. And then the excuses that people try to make for it. And this is when I learned, again, about agents and change and media and people who want to make money. If I ever get really hard up for money, because of some of my actual views, I'm going to become Jason Whitlock or Candace Owens. I'm going to make some bread. That right bread got to be good, because like, they have you saying anything. And I know for a fact that those guys don't believe some of the shit that they say.
They can't.
Like, I got to know. But like, because some of it's just outrageous and doesn't make any sense. But you getting paid. Like, if you want to be that guy token and he's the good one,
yeah,
there's plenty of opportunities for that if you enunciate your words very well. The problem is all of them look like Carlton Banks. None of them look like
weird.
Me. So I know I would be making bank, because they would be trying to get me to flip people, and I would really be trying to make bread. But I say all that to say is that everybody who had common sense saw this for what it was.
Yeah.
And I think the judge, like, again, you can argue with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Yes, it was a Black Lives Matter protest, and that's really what was presented. But then when you saw that it was 3 white males that he killed, all right, this right here was cold-blooded. Like,
you just ain't have nothing else better to do that day.
Yeah, and you hear what they tell you to stop pursuing the person. What scared me more, and what makes me more angry about this than Kyle, is that we would have never found out about this had white arrogance not stepped to the forefront and reared its ugly head. Because they released that video not to do the right thing. The defendants released the video. They released this video to exonerate themselves. They really felt that this video was going to further make people be on their side. Well, if they had not released it, there would have been no investigation
at all, because they had already gotten off.
You had the DA. I think I'm saying it right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm using wrong words, but that was friends of the family,
right?
That
because
felt that
was a former
they did nothing
cop.
wrong, right? you listen to the police officer who was on the scene, and as opposed to trying to figure out if the person shot was okay, she spoke to the shooter in a manner in which they were the victim and did not even investigate. And I think what makes me mad is that this could happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody being nosy, somebody feeling like because I don't understand why white males feel like when there's no police around that it's their job to interject.
Because I feel this nation has empowered them to believe that they are the police because they are the supreme authority on things. So they automatically try to take that position even when they have no business taking that.
And I think what they need to do is something that's a little bit more than life without parole. I think an example needs to be made. I don't want life without parole. I don't necessarily believe in the Bible, and I don't go to church, but I do believe there was the Old Testament God was amazing. I think there was a reason why there was order. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Ahmaud Arbery's parents are entirely too calm. I've said this numerous times through the George Zimmerman trial. George Zimmerman would have never made it to trial. I would have first found out I believe in Mexican justice.
Which is
if you kill my son, I'm going to kill your son. You're going to. I might die, but I want you to feel the pain. I want you to live with the pain that you inflicted upon me.
Right.
And I don't want, and I want it to be public. I think we're in a situation where, like you said, people are empowered. I don't want anybody to die. But what I don't want is people to continuously do these things because they feel empowered. They copycat. You see that nothing happens. I need you. The reason why I don't commit crimes is because I've seen enough people go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough bad things happen. I want you. If you do a modern day lynching, I want you to be modern day lynched.
So like that might be just an eye for an eye. Like you want them to either die in the same manner or to just something.
I want the dad to survive. Give the dad life. Kill the son.
And then what about Roddy? Young son. What about Roddy, the one that videotaped everything? What do you think his punishment should be?
Probably more harsh
than life.
I mean, I don't know what's more harsh than life or death. But actually, you know what? Fine, give them life, but make sure that they're in a certain ward.
General Pop.
Make sure they're in a certain place where they're in Gen Pop, where you can't hide. I don't even want them in Gen Pop because Gen Pop you can pick a side. I literally want them in Gen Pop in a place where they can't get out. But you got to face the people that look like the person that you killed every day. And you got to live for your consequences. You got to live again, consequences and repercussions. And the only reason I say this, especially for the person who videotaped it and witnessed it, why I want, because I believe we could end racism in this country very quick. I'm tired of people sitting back on the sideline and watching stuff that they know is not supposed to be happening. So if you realize that I could get the same, here's how you realize this in the hood, right? When I was growing up in the time where they put the certain amount of feet away from a drug deal happening, to where basically they get lookout boys.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm just walking home from school and there just so happens to be a drug deal happening and they round up the whole block, I'm facing the same charges as the people who actually did something, and I might not have actually done it.
Mm-hmm.
So what that gave me some good encouragement to make sure my friends never did those things around me. If I know that my racist ass friends could get me the same time that they get, maybe that'll start changing some stuff. But right now, we know that there's two different sets of legal systems when you walk into that courtroom.
Yeah.
The reason why people don't protest black on black crime in the manner in which they protest white on black crime, because if somebody shoots me, I have full faith that person's probably more than likely going to go serve their time. Mm-hmm. They're going to face their punishment. But more often than not, I'm the one trying, because even in the Ahmaud Arbery, months before, so they almost already got off. They released this video to get it re-investigated, which took a bunch of really protests to go get it done. What did they talk about? Him being suspended for school for smoking weed.
Right. They automatically criminalized him.
Right. They talk about him walking in a development and people being robbed. And I just think about all the times growing up that you see a new housing development and you just go walk around because it's cool to look at this stuff.
Yeah, and you dream.
If
You
they're
can
stealing
see.
supplies, right? And if they're stealing supplies, let me put news for these people. These contractors build in for that kind of stuff. Like it's. I don't think anybody should ever steal anything, but I don't think $50 worth of wood is worth me shelling out $100 worth of bullets anyway. You know, even if I was
And
never
the
going to watch.
homeowner himself didn't even really care about it that much. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm the person that's actually building this home. I'm the one that has to shell out the money for it. If I'm not tripping over it, why are y'all tripping over it?
That's just like I said. But my thing is I think you know, we're in a weird spot. I won't blame it on Trump. It started well before that. It really started
Yeah.
when, and I'm not saying he's the reason, but it started when Obama got elected and started running, which I joke with people say I still don't believe. I think he might have been a Manchurian candidate, not for any of his beliefs. It's just I've never seen a more perfect black man. Not even a bitter ex-girlfriend came out against him. Like this man literally is what you want, what people say they want us to be. And that caused division. Like they said he wasn't black enough. They said they said he wasn't a Christian, even though when he ran, they tried to use his pastor against him for his beliefs.
Yeah.
He's a Muslim because of his father and all these other things. It's just like that's really when a lot of the divides started happening. And then we did and I was telling people that you wanted a Mitt Romney to win. You wanted some of these other guys to win because at least they understand how to be distinguished. You don't want 4-5 is just popping off the hip. But
Yeah.
4-5 emboldened a lot of people to do things that they don't have the facilities for. He's
Yeah,
rich.
because he wasn't qualified.
Whether
So he
it's
made other people believe that they could be the same thing when
well,
they're not
but
qualified.
I mean, when you're not qualified, that's the point. It's not even that. It's like I can go on a football field and run and hit somebody because I was trained to do that. If a normal person runs on the field and tries to do that, they might die.
Yeah.
4-5 lives in a world that he can't be touched, but you can be touched.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to deal with each other. And instead of us coming together and trying to deal with each other, like we try to get emboldened to the fact that somebody that you may have more in common with, you're willing to go to war with that person that doesn't have anything in common with you besides your gang affiliation. And I think
Which
that's
is Republican or Democrat.
That's unfortunate. Republican or Democrat, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunate. I say Republicans, but Democrats is the same.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying,
it's,
Republican or
you know,
Democrat. You just because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
looking at party lines and you're not looking at how much people might actually have in common with each other or common sense. I did want to bring something
Right,
up
like-
though. So,
Go-
when with this case that happened in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery, to me, I'm okay with the verdict. I'm very happy with that. What I would like to see is what the sentence is going to be and how the judge is going to issue the sentence and what things he'll take into consideration. Because I think when I see the sentencing be appropriate, because a lot of these cases that we've seen recently, people have been held accountable and have been convicted, but the sentences are not appropriate with what the action was. So I'm waiting to see that. And I'm feeling like if it's the same prosecutor in this case as it was the entire time, she's really going to do a great job. And I think the judge will go for life. I just think that they're going to be held in whatever, what do you call it, when they're held in just a special dorm or something so that they're not touched. And that's the thing that I don't like. I don't feel like you did something like this and you should be able to get special privileges in jail when you don't deserve those privileges. You don't deserve to be protected. Right. And the crazy thing is that these same people that are probably thinking that they're not guilty are the same people that don't want people to be held, you know, in jail for life or get special privileges. So like the same justice that they want, they probably don't want those same things to be
For other
issued
people.
on these three guys.
It's also because we realize that our criminal justice system is corrupted of itself.
Yeah,
and
it is.
the prison system is not one. It's not as much. It's for people going to do it. They're going to do it. So it's not as much of a deterrent as what people think. But it's definitely not a rehabilitation place. It's why we have recidivism as high as it is. Like, I mean,
That's
you
for sure.
go and you become a better criminal in some aspects, especially when you take into consideration these low-level drug dealers that go in, have better, now their life is ruined because they have a felony for something now that's legal. You meet better connects, and you figure, like, if I'm going to go back to jail, I'm going to go make as much money as I possibly can.
That's
But,
real.
that again, but bigger than that, the people who think that these guys aren't guilty are the ones that you're going to see at the grocery store, the ones that you got to go and they're your neighbors, the ones you got to do business with. So that's why I always tell people, be careful, like, and I don't want to hear it because, but and I have to make people understand that I'm pretty sane, but I've lived a phenomenal life for 37 years. I will make sure that my two handsome young men get an opportunity to live longer than 37 if it's up to me.
Your kids.
And if my joy is in seeing them be successful. Now, if they do something wrong, the only thing I ask is that they have their day in court. If
That's
they
real.
don't, then I need people to understand that their father is crazy. Like, you may believe what you want to believe about black males and black male fatherhood, but I didn't want to be a lot of things. I never wanted to be a billionaire. I never wanted to be rich. All I wanted to do was have a kid that had my name. And so when I saw that day come true, and then now my baby boy is just as fun. But like I said, you can get it for both of them. But like, if you James Coleman III, it is written. It's on enough video documents. So I'm gonna tell you right now, Kai, you couldn't get me off if you wanted to, because it would be premeditated. It would be premeditated. I would do something special to you.
Yeah, I think I would be on your page because it is something different when it touches your family. Like, I don't know that I would be sane. But let me switch gears really quick. So a lot of people had commentary on calling the Ahmaud Arbery case the Ahmaud Arbery case. They wanted it to be named after the McMichaels and Mr. Bryan. And so it reminded me of the Emmett Till case, right? Because I have no clue who it was that murdered Emmett Till. I just knew that it was a cautionary tale to us growing up. The first time that I saw the image of what they did to his body, I was in elementary school. I think I was like in second or third grade. And I feel like it was an unspoken rule. Like, this is just a cautionary tale. This is what could happen to you in America. You know what I'm saying? And this is the history, the past. So I have no clue who killed him or what their names were. But I don't know that I necessarily agree with not calling it the Ahmaud Arbery case, because I feel like when I call it that, it's me honoring his life. How do you feel about it?
I think it's very strategic and very necessary, because this would be a case that I believe can be spoken as a modern day Emmett Till case. Emmett Till case was so powerful that I've never been with a white woman before in my life.
Can we put that picture up of Emmett?
I believe Carmen showed me that.
The other picture.
I believe Carmen showed me that when I was 10 years old. And I remember learning about it, and this kid whistled. Even though we found out more information later on that he had a stuttering problem, and that makes it even worse, is that he didn't even whistle.
Right.
Just had a stuttering problem that sounded like a whistle.
Right.
And some other things, but that's how bad the times were. And even now, there are some modern day issues in this kind of. I don't want to knock it or anything, because there is some things that needed to be rightfully corrected. But there are some times when the situation has been extremely taken advantage of when it comes to male-female relations. And I've known too many people on the wrong side of that. So I try to keep myself away from that as much as possible. But I think the Ahmaud Arbery, and knowing how he was killed, all we need to know is that a young man in a decent neighborhood was out for a run, and he was gunned down by two guys while one guy watched. And it was a father-son, and they hunted him like it was hunting for sport. And in turn, they tried to make themselves victims. I think if we learn the McMichaels names, what we do is we can polarize it, right? We can sum it down to it's not all. This isn't how America is. It was just the McMichaels.
Got you.
But in Ahmaud Arbery's case, and you say three guys ran them down, we can all put ourselves in Ahmaud Arbery's shoes. We've all been running. I live in a nice neighborhood. I'm running a lot, or I go to walk a lot, or do some things. Now, luckily, people kind of get to know me or whatever, but you know, my boys will become 17 and they won't look as cute as they look now. They'll look handsome, but they're gonna be. They make them big. They make us. We're big Negroes. They're gonna probably be 5'10" or taller. They're gonna be over 200 pounds. That's just the way they make us.
Yeah,
And
we're a
they're
big
gonna
family.
probably have units. They're gonna have units on their face where when they're not smiling, they may look menacing or intimidating. And I need your timidness to not impose on my kids' freedom. See, like this is why it's tough. Like people talk about freedom and they talk about all these things and like I don't want to wear a mask and that's imposing on this, or I don't want to get done with this. And I tell people try being a minority for 24 hours and then you realize how many concessions you have to make on a day-to-day basis that are involuntary, that are drawn up into you. Why do I have to smile? Why do I have to shrug back? Why do I have to do a lot of these different things? And I do them not because I'm trying to be less or dial down who I am. I am trying to make sure that everybody enjoys their American experience as much as possible without me having to enjoy other rights that I need to use. So it's about doing what's best for the people. But again, we can all relate to Ahmaud Arbery in some capacity, and or even the George Floyd. When I tell people the George Floyd case, what really got me on that isn't so much George Floyd's past or even his relationship with the officer that had his knee on his neck. I just think about what people fail to understand is just how strong men have to portray themselves on a day-to-day basis. For me to be in so much pain or know that it's coming, that I go to an infantile state. Like when my sons are hurt, they don't call out for me. The first person they call out for is their mama.
Yeah.
When I'm in pain, when I was in the hospital, I mean, I wanted to see my boys, but I wanted to see my mama. I wanted to see a lot of stuff, like because that's the person that's nurtured you, that's typically soothed you.
Yeah.
Like to see a 40-some or however old year old man, and his last words was calling out to his dead fucking mama. Like that's what resonated with me more than anything else. I'm like, damn, how bad was it that he went there? And again, you see yourself in that situation until you've been slammed on the front of your car by a police officer at a traffic stop because they don't know who you are. And unfortunately for me, it's fortunate and unfortunate. Because here in Jacksonville, when they find out who I am and who I know, it changes.
But
and
I hate that because I feel like you shouldn't.
It shouldn't be customer. I shouldn't need to dial customer service for somebody whose bills I pay. It comes out of my taxes.
Exactly.
It should be consistent. Now, if it was consistently bullshit, I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have a problem. The problem is that some guys do it right, some guys don't do it right. If that officer who stopped those guys at the Ahmaud Arbery case, if she's always like that with everybody, I kind of don't have as much of a problem, but I find it difficult to believe that she's not aggravated at the person that she pulled over at a stop as much as, I mean, she's more aggravated at the person that she pulled over for a traffic violation as she is about a guy who now she got to do a ton of paperwork on, and she's being sympathetic because he took somebody's life and not even trying to figure out why he took somebody's life.
Yeah, that's real. Phil, I sent the picture over again because I want my viewers to be able to see the kind of stuff just in Black life, period, that you are equipped with. Like we have a different world, and there are different conversations that our parents, our teachers, our community leaders have with us in order for us to even interact on a daily basis that I don't think people know. When you learn about Emmett Till when you're a child, like I cannot imagine showing my nephews a picture of Emmett Till like that. Like I can't imagine doing that, but I know at some point they're gonna have to see that, or they're gonna have to see George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery so that they know how to operate, unfortunately, in this world. But while Phil's looking for the picture, I wanted to say something about your neighborhood because you do, or when we first moved there, when I lived with you in law school, it was predominantly white. I don't know the makeup of it now. All I know is since leaving Jacksonville and when I come back to visit you, sometimes I'll go walk Charlie, your dog.
You ready?
Yeah, you can go ahead and show Emmett Till and I'll go back into this story. So the image at the bottom there, that is Emmett Till. I didn't see the top picture at all. I just remember coming across, I believe it was a Jet magazine when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, and just seeing the picture at the bottom with his bloated, unrecognizable face. And I will never forget that image for the rest of my life. I didn't even know that that was a human being. And then I was able to find what the story of Emmett Till was. So imagine growing up as a black child and you know that that is a possibility that a white person could do to you if you were
Not
to act
just
out of
that,
line.
that your tongue was cut out, your genitals were cut off. You were
Yeah. What was the purpose
you
of
were
that? Like,
you were mutilated. They what do you call it? Sodomized you.
yeah,
They
it's
did they
sick.
didn't just kill you. They tortured you
Emasculated
because
you. Yeah.
you whistled and you were a child.
A
And these were
child.
a grown and these were grown men that did this stuff. So I mean it's again and these guys got off, and then to find out that the lady who said that this happened went on her
Recanted it.
deathbed, recanted it, and we see so many of these things, and what I always tell people, that people believe like the Civil Rights Act passed and then like some magical pixie dust was
No.
spread around America and they forgot their sins. No, the people who are on those smiling at those picnics after church while they had strange fruit, which was a nickname for people being hung,
Yeah.
are your mimas. Those are
Your
pawpaws.
grandma. Yeah.
Those were deacons. Those were deacons at your church. Those were your teachers. Those were police officers. Those people influenced somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
those people had kids. Those people who they influenced had kids. Some of these people who were making policies were youth during that time, or even old enough during that time.
Yeah.
I bring up people with our family. Just my grandmother grew up in the South. But no, excuse me, she didn't grow up. But she was born. Her brothers grew up in the Deep South. They all moved to New Jersey.
They grew up right
But
outside of Jacksonville.
right, she didn't my grandmother never didn't understand. Didn't go to school with white people. She went
Right.
to school with black, nothing but blacks. My mother might have been. I think my mother was the first person to attend a desegregated school.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? That means just like on the other side of that stuff, what my grandmother saw was from what her daddy saw, who grew up in the Deep South as a mixed man who probably could pass, but chose to be black.
Yeah.
As white as Big Daddy looked, but he chose to be black and proud, which is great. But
Yeah.
the things that he saw, he passed on to grandma. The things that grandma saw, she passed on to her mom, and the things that my mom saw passed on to me. And people talk about belts and all the violence and the things like that, but do you understand what happened to Emmett Till? Ain't no spanking in this world worse than what those men did to Emmett Till, and those are the consequences that people had to try to endure. Like, I need you to fear me more than you fear what's going on outside, because I need you to not get into situations that I'm going to have to go in. And think about, and this is the other thing about Emmett Till. Them people, not the police, just like this Ahmaud Arbery thing, them people went into his people's house. And those people understood that if they fought for that boy, it would have wiped the entire family out.
Yeah. Or just like
they had to give up a
was
14-year-old.
What was it? The town here. I mean, it's several towns that you can list, but here in Florida that they made the movie.
Like Rosewood.
Yeah, like
Rosewood.
if you try to stand up for yourself, we taking you out and we're taking this entire black community out. And it's like people sit up here and act like that is not something that's still recent. Emmett Till was murdered like that in 1955. Our grandmother, who is very much still alive, very much still very active, talking, getting around, was born in 1938. That picture that we just put up on the screen, that happened in 1955. So there's not a big gap of time there. My grandmother was an adult when this happened and can still
Even
pass
then,
that
like,
stuff. Mm-hmm.
What's the white comedian? Louis C.K. Funny, he got, the misogyny, the movement got him, but he brought up a very good point on the show. I was like, white people act like slavery was so long ago when it was about 100, just over 150 years ago. He's like, that's two 75-year-old women living back to back.
Exactly.
It's really not that. Again, that's basically two generations. But it's there's a lot into it. It's just it's not something that people. I don't even want people to feel sorry. I just want people to be aware and realize that some shit. Sometimes a good damn that sucks beats. Let me get more information.
Yeah.
Like, you just acknowledge that the situation ain't that great. And then we can move from there. But I think sometimes, but I get it. Like, if it was that painful, like, because I learned about that kind of through mom, but I didn't learn about that until we went to BCA.
Yeah.
I didn't learn about that at Appalachia.
Yeah.
I also didn't learn about Nat Turner in in regular school. So a lot of the stuff that they don't teach you is I can understand, because when you learn what school is for, school isn't to educate. School is to indoctrinate and get you prepared to be a working member of society. And that's what most people have. Most people don't want to be educated. They just want to, or most people, excuse me, they don't want to learn, because learning means you have to take what you've been given and you have to apply it. They just want to be educated. Education is a system which I tell you this, you regurgitate this, and I pass you, and you just keep moving on. It's kind of like the Bible. The Bible talks about
oh Lord,
coming to light and learning, and basically going on your journey.
Mm-hmm.
But how do most people find out about Christianity in the Bible? It's indoctrinated upon you. You didn't go search. And I think the best thing, even people who I know who are the most theological, but they've gone and they've learned what other things are happening, and it's either strengthened their faith or it's lessened it. But they went on a journey to learn. And it's the same thing about education. So it's like, why do we need to learn about the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything about American society? It's so that you can learn what not to do. You can learn, like, holy crap. Like, even if you feel like Kyle Rittenhouse is 100% entitled to what he did, I get it. But once you learn about some of the things that have happened, you can be like, holy shit, I can kind of see how people can see where this could go. And while I agree that he needed to defend himself, we need to do a better job to make sure that these things don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, that's my 2 cents on
Well,
that.
I wanted to add something, and then we'll move on to the next segment. But back to living in your neighborhood. So I lived there with you when I was in law school for 3 years. Would go on walks daily, right? Nobody spoke to me in that neighborhood. If anything, they just looked at me like I was crazy. Fast forward to now, 18 years later, I'm back in your neighborhood walking Charlie, your dog, which you didn't have a dog when I lived with you. Now people stop and speak to me in the neighborhood because there's a dog with me. Like, what? That was the weirdest thing to me. And you live in a predominantly white neighborhood. So I feel like the dog must have made people feel more comfortable to just speak and say, hey. Like, that was weird to me. Like, they actually come up to me in my personal space because there's a dog. And I'm like,
it's a cult.
But if I was walking by myself, like, what? That's
Owning
weird.
a dog is a cult,
Don't
man.
talk to me
These
because of Charlie.
These people hang out. Like, they have dog play dates. And I actually learned, to their defense, like, I didn't like Charlie until I saw John Wick. And when I saw John Wick, and John Wick had a beagle, and basically the whole series is because they killed a man's dog. If they didn't kill the beagle, there is no series.
Right.
But when I saw it, and it looked, the beagle looked exactly like Charlie.
Yeah.
And when I saw what that person did to the beagle, I would have probably killed people over the course of 4 movies too.
But to me, it made it feel like I'm human. Like, you like a dog more than you like me. If I'm just out for a stroll just to catch the sun and you can't wave to me, but now I have a dog with me and you feel empowered to come up and speak and come in my personal space. For me, it was very weird, because the first time I had it, I had Trey with me and I had Charlie. So I automatically went into defense mode. Like, this white male, why are you coming up to me and you're touching my property without speaking to me or acknowledging me first? You've come up and you've spoken to Charlie and acknowledged her presence, but you are not acknowledging me and my nephew. It was weird. Tell you, it was the weirdest thing ever.
It's extremely weird. Just think about it like this. I tell people, Michael Vick lets you know everything you need to know about pilgrims and their dogs. And there are people who will say Michael Vick didn't get enough time. He didn't kill a human. He didn't kill a dog. His people killed him. But like, he did 2 years, a hard time in Leavenworth prison, one of the worst prisons that you could possibly go to in America. And came out and has been a functioning member of society, and people still hate him. And he's doing stuff for PETA. I mean, it's just a weird.
I didn't know he was working with PETA.
Like, he's done stuff to raise awareness to not fight dogs and do different things. Like, he's probably their best spokesperson, and people still hate him. And it's just like, it's wild. But people are weird, man. So
people are very weird, and that brings me to my next topic, which is the Big Subpoena Moment. So the big subpoena is where I'm just venting about what's going on and things that aggravate me. And I think one thing that aggravates me that just started recently happening is code switching. I really feel exhausted. I don't know if linguistically exhausted is a word, but I fucking hate code switching at this point. I am tired of talking a certain way when I'm in the courtroom, a certain way when I'm on the phone versus when I'm chilling in Tallahassee talking to y'all. I hate it, and I don't know how to handle it. Cause it's like, okay, the ultimate solution is just talk the same way that you would talk all the time. But then I feel like people would think I'm unintelligent or I don't know. I'm very sick of it, and I feel like I wear a mask every single day.
We're in a society, we're in an age where who cares if people think you're unintelligent?
Mm,
Because they're gonna think what they want to think. I
that's real.
learned more of this. 2013, Florida State wins the national championship. Jameis Winston wins the Heisman Trophy, amongst a lot of whatever about some things he did off the field, may or may not have done. I heard a very intelligent guy who I look at as a brother named Chuck Hobbs and those guys talk about how much of a Bama he was, basically. Because Jameis has gotten better, but he was very country. Um, Very pure, drank sodas, didn't want no liquor, didn't want to do anything. Took his girlfriend up to New York, who's now his wife, and had the mother of his two handsome boys, going on and on. And they talk about how country he is and how it is. And I made a statement. I said, y'all are talking about an 18-year-old boy, a 19, excuse me, he was 19. Y'all talking about a 19-year-old boy when I just heard Ben Crump sound as Bama as they get.
Yeah.
But Ben Crump is rich.
An attorney. Yeah.
Some of the multimillionaires that I know don't speak the Queen's English best. But they get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that it's better to be extremely good at what you do and not really worry about. And then from there, once you're extremely good at what you do, you can speak and talk however it is that you want to talk, as well as long as you're willing to deal with the consequences. That's why I don't believe in cancel culture. There is no such thing as cancel culture. Anybody can be replaced. Are you replaceable?
Mm-hmm.
And I say this like, think about, I mean, he's looking up on us right now, but Rush Limbaugh, terrible person, done all kinds of things.
Yeah,
made $25 million a year doing radio and podcasts. Phenomenal at what he did. Terrible person. McDonald's sponsored him, even though the vile things that he said. You know why? Because they knew hundreds of millions of people were going to listen to what he had to say over the course of a year. Trump says whatever he want to say because at the end of the day, he produces. I'm just using those on that extreme. 50 Cent in the hip hop side. 50 Cent starts beef, is as petty as they want to, but it's probably one of the best entertainment minds of hip hop. You can't understand a word that Shaq says, but Shaq is an investor and does a lot of stuff. So when I learned that, I learned to be more free in who I wanted to be because I'd rather be able to wake up and live with myself during the day than fear of being fired. Like, because they'll hold that once they know that's what you truly fear, they'll hold that against you they'll hold that on you for your whole life.
That's real.
And I get it. Because like nobody wants to not be able to earn a living.
Right.
But like Dave Chappelle is the greatest example of it. Dave Chappelle is a comedian, and for whatever reason, nowadays, if you have a opposing view of what somebody else has to say, you're considered an enemy, as opposed to that person just might not believe the same way as you believe. They don't want you to be harmed. They don't want you to not be able to fulfill your dreams. They just don't. Or they're trying to learn. Mm-hmm. So he's been attacked by the consonant community because they add a different letter every year, and very powerful community. And they have had some things that have happened, but They're like, oh, Dave's gonna get canceled, and no, Netflix doesn't care. Netflix cares that when they put that Dave Chappelle special up, more dummies are gonna not do what we do and go like where 20 people share an account. They're gonna go buy accounts to go watch, and guess what? Watch what he says to be angry, to be offended. Like that's the wildest thing in the world to me.
For me,
the
it's
wildest
more
thing in the world to me.
I was gonna say, for me, it's more the linguistic side. I am tired
Oh,
of
okay.
trying to over enunciate, or like sometimes I just want to talk and talk, but then I feel like I have to then translate what I'm saying. I want to be able to say
Right. I think it
yin,
just
y'all,
depends on where you're
ain't,
at.
and that's
Like
my
when you're
thing.
doing
I'm tired
naturally,
of it. I feel like we've
when you're
had
doing
to,
natural legalista, you got to make sure that people understand Tallahassee.
and that's my thing.
That's the
It's like
problem.
sometimes I just want to talk. Like I don't want to feel like I'm constantly having to translate for other people. Sometimes I just get fucking tired and I just want to speak
Nah,
the way I
I
normally
thought
speak.
you meant for like when you go into a room full of white folks. I'm
No,
not
because I'm gonna
changing
give
what
my
I
opinion
say.
no matter what.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not changing what I say or how I say it. But
Mhm.
like when I'm on air, I need people to like. I need people to understand what I'm saying.
But
Like
that's
the
my
only time
thing. It's like I feel
I'll
like we
change.
put so much weight on how we talk or enunciate things, and the thing is, you can learn our dialect. You can learn our language too. I'm really getting tired of it. I enjoy
I think it's like
sometimes.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I go to New Orleans, like my New Orleans friends. Like you know what I'm saying, Charlotte? Hey, check this right here now. Let me tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna come around here, and if you don't do what I tell you to do, you ain't gonna get nothing, yeah?
That's what I'm saying. I
Like,
enjoy
yeah,
having
I might
conversations in
get
front
that.
of people where I don't have to translate. And if you're not supposed to be privy to this conversation, you just not gonna understand it.
Now that's the thing. Now if it's supposed to be, that's the beauty. Actually, you know, again, this is deeper. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this in his book Powernomics. You know how this could all be more, okay, is the last generation had an opportunity to give black people their own damn language, and instead of taking it, they decided to say no, and that's the black people's problem. Is that everything we want to do is we want to prove that we can do what other people do is just as good as them, as opposed to doing that and keeping our own. When Ebonics came in, they literally tried to give us African American vernacular English, and we said no. Spanish people, which I deal with all the time, they come over here. They ain't really trying to fight, not learn the Spanish. They'll learn English. But if you want to do business with a Spanish person, you better learn Spanish. You want to do business with the Chinese people consistently, you guys better learn Mandarin. You want to do business, like they can speak English enough to be able to get over, but you're gonna have to learn their stuff and their dialect. Now, the problem with our stuff is a different dialect in East Trenton or West Trenton than it is in South City, Tallahassee, as it is to Boston, as it is to Cali. Like it just sometimes, you know, the funniest thing is, all right, so there's a football coach who just got hired, Brian Kelly, was at Notre Dame from Boston, Massachusetts, coached in Cincinnati and in South Bend, Indiana. Now he's the head coach at Louisiana State University, LSU. Deep in the root, deep in the thick of it, Cajun country. This man sounded like the white dude from Django Unchained. To try to let people understand him. So like it happens with everybody. But like if he goes to Louisiana, talk about like talking like he from Boston, Massachusetts, they'll run his ass out of there. Sometimes it's just about putting the stuff in. But I think the biggest thing is that we got to stop doing what makes you uncomfortable. Because you're the catch, you're the prize, you're the we are the purveyor of culture. Yeah. Think about all of this stuff. Country music wouldn't be here if it wasn't for blues. Rock and roll was made by black people. All this stuff is like everything that's cool and hip right now. We invented it. So like just realize like our sneaker culture, like all these shoes back here. It ain't the black kids that sell because they're the ones who really can't afford it right now. It'd be my white kids that love and recognize the shoes, but it comes from, and they're the reason why the prices drive up. I ain't mad at it. It's capitalism. But the reality is our culture and what we think is hip, how we talk, kids with neck tattoos and tattoos everywhere. 10 years ago, that would have been considered gang, and now everybody want to be that. That's why that's why they're afraid of rap music as much as they were, and they had to paint these stigmas. Is because what happened when little Jimmy in Middle America starts crip walking, starts claiming sets. But I mean, that's that's neither here nor there. But like I said, I get you with the code switching though.
Yeah, that was my rant for today. I'm tired of it. So I think I'm just tired. I don't know how I'm gonna be able to tie this stuff into what I do, But it's gonna have to be something, because I really get tired of talking after a while unless I'm able to just relax my mouth and just talk like how I would naturally talk. But yeah, well, how can the people find you if they want to follow you on social media or, hear you on the radio, all of that good stuff? Where can they find you?
The best thing to do is at Big Game James _36. That's my Twitter handle. That's my Instagram handle. That's how I really communicate to the masses. Sports Den Live is the name of my radio show. We come out 3 days a week. We do a live YouTube. We do YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Facebook Live, as well as canalize it on SoundCloud, Spotify, all the whatever streaming service you got us on there. But that's the biggest thing. Check out sportsdenlive.com. That will be where we have everything. And then in the new year, we'll be launching basically an internet radio network of a bunch of different podcasts and interesting tidbits. So we're going to do it big in 2022.
That's awesome, man. They can catch you on the news too, right?
Oh yeah, news for. Oh, wait a minute, I'm about to say the wrong one. First Coast News in Jacksonville every Sunday. I get to talk good or bad about teams, and unfortunately, the Jaguars is who I have to talk about with the NFL. They're not very good right now, so every week I have to figure out a new way to say that this team sucks.
Okay,
which is tiring. You talk about code switching. That's tiring. I've been doing that for 5 years now.
Oh man. Anywho, well, y'all know how y'all can find me. You can hang out with me on Instagram, which is Kai_LYFE, Kai Life, or you can hit me up for business at colemanlaw.net. Or always, if you want to hang out with me on Facebook for a little bit, have some fun, it's Kyla A. Coleman. And until next time, we're going to let the music take us on out. Thanks for being on my show, Stink. Have a good rest of your day, man.